Well, it's a very good evening. Friday late night. We're back after quite a long spell away, and welcome all. Good evening to you, sir. How are you?
Yeah, all right, mate. All right. Yeah, reveling in the rain.
Reveling in the rain.
Yeah, I like a bit of rain, bit of damp and misery. It's good for the soul, isn't it?
When you're actually inside, it's raining. It's all right, but it's when you get caught out in it that's fucking horrible. But there you go.
Yeah.
We're going to talk quite a bit about various things, aren't we, tonight? Because there's an awful lot of stuff. Isn't it weird that even though we haven't kicked the ball in the last week or so, hell of a lot of stories to cover.
It's all the fun of the fair, isn't it, of West Ham United?
It is, and we're gonna look at our prospects for relegation or survival. Because I did hear you say, even if we get a point between now and the end of the season, it'll be all right. I'm not sure I'm that optimistic, to be quite honest with you, but we'll come on to that later on. Talk about Europe because we're still in it, and who knows, we could be European champions in the Championship next season. Wouldn't that be ironic? Europa Conference champions in the Championship,
playing Europa League against some of the bigger teams of Europe.
Whilst we then go and play Rotherham on a Wednesday night. Rotherham on a Wednesday night.
Where would you rather be?
Huh?
Where would you rather be?
Not in Rotherham.
Well, to be fair, Rotherham's got a nice stadium now, isn't it? Compared to Millmoor, they're in the New York Stadium now. And if you go to Rotherham,
it's a fancy name.
It is, and it's. I don't know if it's a better stadium. I've never been there, but if you want to get all nostalgic, Millmoor is not far away, still standing. They've not knocked it down. I don't know what's going on. Their old football ground is still there as a football ground. I don't know if it's.
Is that a suggestion that maybe we should have kept our old ground standing and maybe go back to it?
Well, it is a funny thing, which, I love to go off on a tangent at times. But could the club have sold off a training ground, and kept Upton Park for the women to play at and the youths?
Would the old training ground make as much money as Upton Park?
Well, they got 35 million for Upton Park, according to the books.
A snip.
Anyway, according to Land Registry, that's what they got. 15 million of that they had to hand over straight away as a part of the share of redeveloping the stadium. So if they'd have sold off some of the training grounds, they probably could have rustled together, 25 million there. And covered the costs, and then kept Upton Park.
I mean, that's a completely separate show all in its own right, isn't it? Really,
it is. But the one thing I would say there then is at least like Rush Green Ladies would be playing in West Ham.
I know you got a beef about that. that.
Just because you put a West Ham shirt on a team, it don't make them West Ham. If you don't play in, the old people I can hear screaming at me, Upton Park ain't in West Ham, no, which is correct. But if you walked across the road from the entrance, you was in West Ham. So, yes.
You're never going to let it go, are you?
Never going to let it go.
Never going to let it go.
Yeah, never going to let it
go. Anyway, good evening to you. So we're going to talk a little bit about the internationals, Vladimir Coufal and what he said, and what does that mean, if it means anything at all. We're going to look a little bit about, April, because I'll tell you, April ain't looking well. I don't want to say it ain't looking good, but stone me, it's going to be a busy month. And that could really determine where we end up at the end of the season. Games. I think April's a big deal, isn't it?
Yeah, 9. Yeah, it's 9 games in April. I mean, strip out the 2 European games, 7 league games.
7 games. Yeah.
That's a big ask.
It is. I mean, let's start on that, because I've got the fixtures here. I've got it in 2 bits here. So you rightly say we start off with, I mean, maybe there's a consolation here, Nigel, that we've got quite a few games at home.
We've not lost at home this year.
I heard you say that too, and I know. I mean, I thought
everybody was rushing for the fixtures to go. He don't know what he's talking about, and then they find that our last home defeat was Brentford just before the year changed, so he does know what he's talking
What do we make? All right. I remember doing a show with you some time back, and we were talking about old players who turned around and said they'd rather play than train.
Yes.
And, you know, does this stand true nowadays? I mean, we've got how many games there? We've got 5 there. And then we've got, you know, to finish off the month, we've got another 4. All right. Like you said, 2 of those games are against Ghent. If we do the business in the first round, we might be able to take it easy in the second round, dependent on the scoreline, etc. But, you know, it's make or break in the Premier League, isn't it? We've got 7 Premier League games. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 of those 7 games are at home.
At home, yeah.
All right, let's start off with that.
Well, there's 4 games we
Liverpool.
lose.
We're playing. We're playing Liverpool. We're playing Arsenal. You'd argue those are going to be the 2 most difficult ones of the 4.
Yeah.
Because Newcastle, when I saw the way we played against Newcastle away, we held our own. Many say we should have won that. But then Southampton ain't going to be. To start off with, Southampton ain't going to be. They're fighting for their lives. How do you see? How do you see April going?
Well, this is the funny thing is, sometimes you can listen to people and they'll talk down West Ham, and at the same time they'll talk up all the clubs around us, and you think, well, but we've all got the same amount of points roughly, so we're all doing as well as each other, roughly. So it's a fairly even divide. I said the other day that if you take the Nottingham Forest away game where we smashed them off the park but lost 1-0 in a complete mugging, if we'd have won that, we'd be 12th and Forest to be bottom. That's how mad the league is this year. Nobody's doing anything in that bottom 12 as such to pull away. People thought the Leeds result was bad. But if you looked at it, if Wolves had won that, they would have gone 5-6 points clear.
Yeah.
So, which you may think may be a bit difficult to make up, where keeping everybody tight within 3 points of us means that any finish is possible. I don't, you know, I'm not, and don't confuse my positivity in you know, some type of Moyes loving, as I'm sure some people may see it. It's just that, you know, I wrote an article yesterday, 6'2", get it in quick, that, you know, we've been in this position before. We've been in worse positions than this. And when I say worse positions, where lose, constantly, not won a game for 10, 12 games. Then all of a sudden, something happens. We win 6 out of 8 games.
Can you see that though, Nigel? I mean, you know what I've been like.
But we couldn't see that in 2007, and it happened.
True, yeah, but
yeah, we couldn't see it in 2003, but it happened.
Yeah. Do we have that same stamina this time round? I mean, you know,
what I'm saying is that when we was in those bad runs, if social media had existed back in those times in the way it does now, you would find the same conversations going on about now back then. But then all of a sudden, one strange game in 2007, it was the Tottenham defeat 4-3. It was the manner of defeat, the fight we put up. And then we went to Blackburn and won a game that, frankly, the goal would have won. It wasn't even a goal because it didn't cross the line and everything else. Just that little bit of spark. And from that spark, nobody thought that we would go on and do what we did. Yeah,
wasn't that spark, though, meant to have been Nottingham Forest when we won 4-0? And then we got spanked the following week, 4-0.
This season is a bit different because, and this is the thing, where if you look at those 2 seasons I mentioned, where we hadn't won games for 10, 11, but we have done that recently. We've won a couple at home. We beat Everton. We beat, you know, we're picking up points at home, and that's my point of view. Is with our own games, we haven't lost at home since Brentford in December.
Yeah.
Well, we're now going to enter April.
Have we improved though, Nigel? Because I look at some of the performances and I think, we all kind of, a lot of us said after Nottingham Forest, you know, this could be this looks like the turning point in terms of the way we performed that game. And then what Moyes did for the Brighton game, he kind of exposed us to if he'd have gone in with half the attitude that he did against Nottingham Forest, we could have maybe. I mean, Brighton were a lot better than us. Let's not deny. But maybe we could have looked at maybe getting a different result out of Brighton. But he went defensive again, and it's really interesting. And it is going to go on to what Vladimir Coufal talked about, him being, such a pragmatist, etc., and almost to the detriment in a way of what happens with results. And this is the big fear I have. I know you're absolutely right about the previous years. We had we had maybe a manager at the time, or those two times, who were looking at
what Glenn Roeder and Alan
defending all the
Kirbishley.
time. Say again.
Glenn Roeder and Alan Kirbishley.
Right, but they weren't as defensive minded as what Moyes were they?
Perhaps after losing 10 games they had done. In 2007 we beat Manchester United. Yeah, we didn't win another game until we beat Blackburn Rovers in the March. So we went nearly 4 months not winning a game.
So here's a point. Steve says we've got to win against the Saints. Respecting the point, I believe we will stay up. I mean, if we're looking at every game as gaining a point and no more than that, is that honestly enough?
No, see, and this is why I love people, because they always take what I say and twist it. Yeah. What my point of view was, that 12 points would possibly keep us up. More of that if you look, 36 points, would has a good chance of keeping us up. Therefore, in theory, if we got a point every game, that would be enough. Now,
is it going to be enough this season? 36 points.
I think 36 points will be enough to keep.
That's quite low.
We've stayed up with lower.
Yeah, we have. We have.
Yeah.
I'm looking
for this is the thing. People can throw all these things at me. I can go, well, we've done this, we've done this, we've done this. History is a pointer. Is a reason that I say to people, well, why you should keep believing is because things have happened in the past that tell me this. If it hadn't have happened in the past, I wouldn't be saying it.
I think the big difference, I think people are looking at the big difference being because Moyes is in charge and can't seeing him, if he's going on a gamble where he might be thinking the games I think we're going to win, we'll try and go out and win, but every other game I think we'll go out and draw. We've only got to lose one of those remaining 12 games to throw all that out the window.
Yeah, look, ideally, I would prefer it. He sets his stall out and go, lads, we've got to win every game. We've got to win every game. Well, he's not. Why is he's not going to break an habit of a lifetime? But perhaps says there is method in what Len says when he says he's a coward. In that he will look at some games and set up in a way to stifle and maybe nick a win, but if he walks away with a 0-0 draw, he'll be
happy.
Yeah, as happy as a pig in shit, probably. Clean sheet and all that. You can almost hear his press conference really pleased with that. We didn't concede a goal, blah, 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 defended really well, blah, blah, blah. But, at the end of the day, I don't know. It's up to me. What's more important? I don't hang my hat on Premier League football. So if we go down, not too bothered. I would prefer us obviously to be in the Premier League. More actually, I'd rather we won a cup.
See, let's get on to that because you've said this before, and I've kind of agreed with you. You're always going to remember winning a trophy, and so on. But a lot of people hate that. A lot of people, really quite Premier League is the be all and end all.
Yeah.
I mean, we won't get a better chance, will we, to win a trophy as we will this season, considering the draw we've got.
Well, this is the bad thing about it. If you're looking at the trophies that West Ham will compete in or what have a chance to compete in, not saying in this season, I'm saying as a whole. So we've got the Premier League, the FA Cup, the League Cup, and then the European Trophy. Now, if on the face of it, if you look at this competition, it's the...
We've lost Nigel. He's We've lost Nigel midway, and this is the first time I can turn around and say it's got nothing to do with my Wi-Fi. You're back. You're back. Are you back?
Back. Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
I don't know.
Yeah, I said that this is the easiest trophy West Ham could win in its history.
Yeah.
Because in the League Cup, you got now all the big boys are winning it, and the same for the FA Cup. Look, deep down, we probably know if a Man City or Man United are going to win it.
Yeah.
If we, we've got an outside hope of Brighton. We definitely don't want Sheffield United to win it. So. Yeah, well, we don't, do we? Let's be honest. We don't want. Who wants Sheffield United to win it deep down? We don't. So
that would just make it worse for the fans saying, "Oh, West Ham, not even as good."
Well,
as
it's not that
United.
just because of everything. I'd be more than happy with the Brighton to win it, but on the face of it, it looks like it's a Man United or Man City trophy.
Yeah.
So therefore, what I'm saying is that's the difficulty we got in winning it. So actually, if supporting a football club is about seeing win a trophy, which we haven't done, a mainstream trophy since 1980. But probably 3/4 of West Ham fans don't remember us winning it now live. All they do is listen to old farts like us telling them what it was like.
Yeah.
Then this is it. This is the shot. This will give you a better memory than that crappy playoff final against Blackpool.
Yeah.
Or Preston.
I'm in agreement with you, but I also get what people say about Premier League survival, etc. It's like it's really important and so on, and people do say that. People are saying, I think we should focus on the Premier League and forget about the Europa Conference. And people are calling this the conference, Europa Conference and Tin Pot Cup. I liken it to the Cup Winners' Cup, which we've won. For me, it's it was always the second or third competition in Europe. Cup Winners' Cup, really, the third.
Cup Winners' Cup. No, the Cup Winners' Cup was the second.
Was it? Well, UEFA Cup. European Cup.
So the European Cup was the first one played.
Yeah.
The Cup Winners' Cup then came about, I believe, 62. 63 it came about. Spurs were the first British team to win it the year before we did. So I think it came about in 63 and Spurs won it 63, 64. I think that's when the Cup Winners' Cup started. But you had to win a cup to enter it. So to be in the European Cup, you had to be league champions. To be in the Cup Winners' Cup, you had to win the FA Cup or the equivalent in that country in Europe. The UEFA Cup started out life was called as the Fairs Trophy, and the way to have entered that, you could only have. I was telling people the other day, you could only have one club from a city. So when Newcastle won it in '69, West Ham finished 8th, Newcastle finished 9th. Newcastle went into it because a London club had already qualified for Europe. So we missed out. Newcastle went in and bloody won it. And that's the last trophy Newcastle ever won, 1969.
And people are saying it. Dodsy's said it, give me the Conference League trophy at 57. I'll happily due and go off to heaven if we win it. Rupert said much the same thing. I'm getting old. I want to, I mean, he's said it with so long as Moyes in charge, we're going down, but I'll take the cup. And is it, I don't want to sort of divide the fan base by saying it might be an age thing, because a lot of us who are elderly would love to fucking see us have another trophy on the mantelpiece, wouldn't we? And I'm not saying it should be to the detriment of us staying in the league, but this is one of our last chances, isn't it?
What denotes a big club? What makes a club big? And part of that is the trophies that it's won. The best thing for happening, I'll say it again, the best thing for happening with this tournament was a big club won it, Roma, and a big manager, Mourinho.
Yeah,
it did give it a little bit of kudos. We were all laughing at it last season. No, Spurs couldn't even bother. I bet their fans. Imagine if we win it. Yeah. Now, how many? There's that great Twitter account. How many days since West Ham have won a trophy? How many days since Tottenham have won a trophy? And you think Tottenham have won a trophy far more. They've won about 4 or 5 since we last won a trophy. Imagine if we put that down in front of them, what we'll be saying to all our Tottenham friends and foes, laughing in their face when they go, "Oh, you won that." You go, "Yeah, you can even get out the group stage, you poor bunch of saps."
And then they'll turn around and say they threw it because they focused on the Premier League.
That's it. But what did they win? Did they win the Premier League?
No, well, exactly.
Oh, well, there you
go. I mean, other people have different opinions. Razor says it's a loser's cup, nothing to rave about, and we won't win it anyway with Moyes.
Well, all right. Well, Razor, tell me how you feel about the playoff final then.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Tell me how you felt about it. Put it there. Tell me how you felt about winning the playoff final.
It was a great day for West Ham fans, wasn't it? Everyone loved it because it was something that you remembered, and we should have actually.
Losers Cup?
Well, no, it got us
promoted. Oh, so finishing third. So what? Didn't go up as champions, did we?
Yeah.
We got outdone by a Reading team and Southampton.
And Peter says, Roma are bigger than us, but then even Roma were delighted, or certainly Mourinho, even if they are a bigger club than us, he was absolutely overwhelmed by winning that trophy, wasn't he? And I'll go down in history. He'll be the first manager to have ever won that new cup. So why not? For us to have the record that we have, 10 wins in a row, unbeaten, etc.
The only team currently in European competition to have not lost, to win every game. And listen, I can understand it. Some of the opposition it has not been a great caliber. But then we're talking down. So many people have talked down West Ham, and I'm not saying we've played well because we haven't. The table don't lie. We are third from bottom, so that ain't great. But there's a lot of teams down there. It's a knife edge. A lot of teams ain't playing well. It's a weird old season. It's almost like it's become like the Championship normally is. Normally you look at the Championship and see 10 teams separated by 4 or 5 points.
Yeah.
Not the Premier League. When as I said before, if you look at 2007, when we did the Great Escape, after the same amount of games, we were rock bottom of the table on 20 points. 17th spot had 30. So we were 10 points from safety. Not, imagine what we are now. We're 3 points from 12th, not from safety.
Yeah. When I look at the table and I look at Crystal, I mean, there's this thing about, we're the only team in the bottom half of the league now that hasn't replaced. Oh no, Leicester and us haven't replaced their manager, etc. Yeah. And I keep looking at it, and people have been going for quite a lot of time, quite a lot of this season going, we need to get rid of Moyes in order to get that boost, etc., etc. And you look at from 12th place down to bottom, there's only 2 teams in that bottom half of the league that haven't replaced their manager. And yet I look at teams around me where they've replaced their manager. They haven't apart from Aston Villa, I can't really see any other team that's done any better. They haven't got that
Wolves, you could say, but they're blown out of cold.
All right.
Yeah. But again, they're still only 3 points, give us the, if we'd have got a point, I thought we were good enough for a point away at Wolves. We lost 1-0. But give us the point. Take 2 off of them. Where are we in the table? It's and that's the thing. It's not a given that we're going down with Moyes. It ain't. But especially considering that the draw was so kind to us. The two toughest teams in the competition, or the favourite teams, both got knocked out, Villarreal and Lazio. Then the next 2 hardest teams that you'd think could cause us a bit of trouble with Nice, who blow hot and cold, and then really Fiorentina or Italians, who knows with them. Both mid-table, realistically, or upper mid-table in their leagues.
Well, I liken Fiorentina to the West Ham of Italy, of the Serie A.
Yeah,
they're one of those teams where they've won things. They've been up and down. They've been relegated. They've been promoted. They've toyed with sort of finishing in the top half of the league, etc. they're very, very similar in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, they've won actually more trophies than we have, but across their history, they're quite similar to West Ham.
Yeah,
so it could be a game where
no, that's what I'm saying. But that's going to be the final, you know, and then it's just a straight shootout in a neutral venue, isn't it?
Yeah. So looking at the league, I mean, I won't lie to you, mate. You know, I've gone from going, it'll be all right, it'll be all right. I'm not so sure, but I think it'll be all right, to now I'm really not sure. And I think the only solace I get is the fact that from 12th place downwards, there's only 3 points between us and 12th place Crystal Palace. You know, and I think psychologically in my head that I'm thinking any team that hits 30 points will start to see they'll be safe. You know, so it's almost a race as to how many teams get to that 30 and then push on from there. You know, and for us, the next 2 games in the league, playing Southampton and playing Newcastle both at home, we win those 2 games, we're on 30 points.
Yeah,
that will look very, very different, won't it? And I think someone else look at the teams that are playing. A lot of them are playing each other around the bottom half of the league, so they're going to take points off each other as well, which kind of helps.
The Southampton game, I you know, must win. Undoubtedly, a draw don't really do anyone favours, to be honest. It's a must-win game of both teams, and we have to make sure that we win that game. Now, if we do that, that puts us 5 clear, Southampton.
Yep.
So then you will see gaps starting to open up. You know, I think Forest are going to slide because their away form is frankly worse than us. I'd hazard a guess we probably got the second worst away form in the division, but theirs is worse. You know, we have got to play. We got a mixed bag really of teams around us out of that 9, and you know, as you said, we've got Liverpool and Arsenal. Liverpool blowing hot or cold. You don't know what you're going to get with Liverpool, to be honest, and it's at our place. So bearing in mind, yes, it was a better West Ham team, but it was a far better Liverpool team that we did beat.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
and so you could say, and if you look at the fact, you know, with the Bournemouth game, they got a bit lucky with the penalty miss. And I always think if a penalty is missed, it is a bit of luck. But that's a bit of luck a club needs. But that could, you know, fortune could smile on us that day, so we could get a point now. You know, I made a bold claim the other week on the podcast. I backed it up. Thing, you know, I could throw you 22 points on why I think it's 22 points is achievable. Do I think we'll get 22 points? Deep down, probably not. But it's definitely achievable. 22 points.
Let's go through them, Nigel, and give us a prediction. So let's roughly work it out. This is just for April only. It's not the rest of the season. But let's see what we can get out of April. Southampton, got to be a win, no?
Yeah, Southampton undoubtedly must-win game.
Okay, Newcastle at home, minimum a point.
Minimum per point. You can take a point.
Fulham away. I think that's a winnable game. I know they're doing well.
Yeah,
but I think we could take it to them. Yeah,
we may be fortunate with the suspension of Mitrovic. I think Willian's back though.
He'll be back. He only misses one game.
Yeah, he only misses one game. I mean, anybody that watched that Man United game could only have been impressed with the way Fulham played.
They were good,
yeah.
But then we were good we were good as well.
Yeah, for the roughly the same amount of time. But you know, we got beat with 3-1 with 11 players on the pitch, not 9.
Yep.
So
are we?
I think we
get anything from them.
I think we could go to Fulham and do something. Yeah.
Okay, so let's say a point from that.
You can, yeah.
Okay.
I think we could beat Fulham.
I can't even, in my mind, I think we can if we take it to them and not go too defensive. Okay.
All right, that's a point then.
All right. So let's go 5 points so far. And then we got Arsenal at home.
Yeah, forget about that.
Bournemouth away.
3 points.
So that's 8 points. Liverpool
Yeah.
at home. I'm going to go for at the very least a draw.
Yeah.
The very least.
Yeah.
So that's 9 points. Palace away is one of those.
3 points.
3 points. That'd be 12 points in April, which would. That's
Could
that's
you
36
imagine, right?
points. That's 36 points.
Could you imagine West Ham sacking a progressive manager, let's say like Pellegrini, and replacing him with an old has-been that we'd had us before?
So that's Palace down then.
Oh yeah, we did. That was a joke.
What do you make? What
Yeah.
do you make of Roy coming back?
Absolutely bonkers. Love it. I think it's their death. I think it's their death knell. He was so good when he left Palace. He went to Watford, and they got relegated.
I'm baffled by it, to be quite honest with you.
The only thing I can think of is a couple of things that there was a lot of distrust behind the scenes. It all fell apart, and whatever. And Steve Parish opened his phone book, and it's only got one number in it.
Roy.
Yeah.
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 Does that and I've actually seen sort of like people suggesting that kind of makes the West Ham board right by sticking with Moyes.
I don't,
because when they turn around and say, I hear the argument, I'm sure you've heard it, but when they turn around and say there's no one out there that we could get that's gonna, because they're in work or whatever it may be, there's no one out there. Does that kind of when Roy is being called back to Palace, does that prove their point, or are they clutching a little bit?
I don't know if it proves their point or not. There's always people out there. You just might have to buy them out of where they are. The thing that happens is when you get to this situation now, if he was going to get rid of Moyes, you would have had to have done it at the World Cup.
Yeah.
Like when he was brought back was in December, you'd have had to have done it then. I will argue all the way till the end that it wasn't a justifiable decision at that point. We'd lost a couple of games, and yes against Leicester, yes against Palace.
Yeah.
And the Palace defeat, Leicester was a good performance, but we got beat 2-0. The Palace one was like a mugging. It was the last kick of the game when he curled it into the top corner. Scored a worldie.
Galling. Yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And this is how it's a fine line. 99% of those shots that the Palace scored would have flown over the bar or would not gone in.
It was it came off Creswell or something.
So imagine if that hadn't have happened, if that goal, give us a point, take 2 points off of them. Look, this is the mad, and this is when I say it is a mad season. It is. There was going to be so many sliding door moments that can change the history of a football club.
So it's not a fallacy to say there have been fine margins this season. There really have been, and you mentioned about the missed penalty, Bournemouth missed penalty against Liverpool missed penalty against Bournemouth. We've missed penalties where we could have had
Nottingham Forest away.
Nottingham Forest away. We missed another penalty against Liverpool.
Yeah.
When Bowen missed the penalty.
That's right. Yeah. And that would have got. And that's it. I said it on Carrot and Booze the other day. What happens if? What happens if that the season actually every team down there gets the same amount of points? Yeah. So that's the final. We're relegated, but Forest stay up. Everything's the same. What happens if? Can we go back to that Forest game when we're 1-0 down and we got a penalty and point the finger at the person that missed the penalty and go, well, that's your fault, mate. If you'd have scored that, we'd have stayed up. Yeah,
you can't do that because there are too many fine lines. I mean, but Debbie and Mark have got something for you here. Could be worse.
A pair of them? Or what one?
Well, there's a comment on the screen. Could be worse, Nigel. I'll let you finish the rest of that off.
Yeah. Well, that would about seal it for me. I mean, the funny thing is that obviously he's managed Palace in the past. They could have called him back.
Well, yeah.
But his reputation's that bad. They rather have Roy Hodgson.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. All right. So safety. We'll be safe.
I do not see us going down.
At what point? Because I've been trying to work it out. I've actually said April is the month. If we have a really bad April, I think that's it for us. I think it's it's done and dusted.
I'll tell you when we're actually down, when it's mathematically certain. I must admit, though, as fun as it will be, I wouldn't want to be going to Leicester on the last day of the season.
No, I wouldn't.
In a winner takes all shootout.
We did it a few years back.
Yeah, but in a
old Noble scored the worldie.
That's it. You don't want to go there though in a winner takes all shootout, do you?
Oh, fuck
yeah.
Me. Fucking.
So you want to be safe by then. I'd be happy to have a winner takes all shootout against Leeds.
That'll be fucking hard.
Yeah, it will be.
Because if they're scrapping,
yeah.
Look,
they are going to be scrapping. Who's really going to break free from that relegation? At some point, a team will accumulate points. But
as you also said, there's a point. One team will slide down the table.
Yeah,
I've got a feeling it'll be Palace. To be honest, I think it'll be either Palace or Forest that will just go bomb. They'll bomb. And they'll hit the bottom of that league before they know what's happened.
Yeah.
All right. So we're saying safety. We've got to talk about the fixture list for. I mean, fortunate, lucky.
Well, you can look, and this is the thing. We can try and dress it up anyway. Yeah, but look at our domestic cup draws recently. Yeah, last season we beat Man United and Man City in the League Cup, and then drew Tottenham away. 3 out of the last 5 years have we not had, or 3 out of the last 7 years have we not had Man United away in the FA Cup?
Man United or Man City or
when you look at some of the teams that were left, why didn't we get Grimsby? What but
you're right.
That, the last time we played Grimsby in the FA Cup, they knocked us out after a replay. But so, but at the end of the day, there is, why have we not got? Why have we had to do it such a hard way? But for the last few years, we've not had a giant killing against West Ham in a cup game. I think under David Moyes. That's the thing with the Brighton game. The Brighton defeat 4-0 was the biggest tanking we'd had since Pellegrini was manager. So what Moyes had done is, even though we were losing, the fact that and our goal difference bore that out, it was only by 1 or 2 oddie goals. A goal difference could keep us up.
Yeah, I reckon so.
It could.
I want to address something that's just popped up. So give me a moment. I just want to. Neil said, when are you going to apologise for calling all the people that could see Moyes failing months ago toxic, fickle, ungrateful, bandwagon jumpers, etc.? You had a go at a lot of people. I don't know if he's talking to me or talking to you or talking to both of us, but I've got nothing to apologise about. I don't know about what you think, mate, but I believed what I believed at the time, and I have turned around and said recently that I think Moyes has been getting it wrong and there's a danger of relegation. But I can't remember calling anyone fickle or ungrateful. I did call people bandwagon jumpers, though. I must admit to that.
Why not?
Got anything to say about that? Or
no? Listen, look. Do I think Moyes should have been sacked in December? No, I don't. Do I think he should have been sacked in January? No, I don't. You won't ever get me saying I think he should have been sacked. But I think he deserves the criticism that he gets. Yep. Yes, I do.
Agreed. Yeah.
But then again, as I've said time and time again, it's an hard push for me, apart from Allardyce, it's an hard push for me to ever say I think a manager should be sacked until he's actually failed.
Yeah.
You could argue with Avram Grant, but Avram Grant, like it or not, had not qualified 2 years running for Europe before he went into the bad slide. Now, you could argue actually that with Moyes at Everton, he had a good bounce, couple of good seasons. Then they finished 17th. But then David Moyes will rightly point, but after that, I had 8 years of not finishing below 11th. Twice finishing in the top 4.
He's kind of repeating history in a way, isn't he, at the moment?
Well,
as it looks. So long
yeah,
as we survive.
the thing about Everton is it's a long time ago. It's 10 years since he left them.
Yeah.
You know, so there's been a lot of football has moved into a different era in that 10 years. You know, the high press style of football I think it was probably the Germans that mastered, and obviously Pep's come over and took that a step further in the way that he's done it. But you know, not every team can play like that.
No,
because there's not always out there the players that can get it. It depends what you want. Everybody's got their own thoughts of what they want for a football club and why they support that football club. It's unique to that person. Why I support West Ham is unique to me. There are people that will share and understand the reasoning why I do it, but it's unique to everyone. So we've all got our different point of views. How that manifests itself in the way you choose and what you think, I don't know. You know, and again, I could argue that is, you know, yes, I fully understand why Premier League football or the continuation of Premier League football is very important to a club like West Ham. But then for the people who go, oh, you know, it is that, and I get told that by a lot of people. But the reason why it don't bother me is because it ain't going to affect my football viewing. I don't care if we play Rotherham or Man United. I don't go and watch West Ham because they're playing Man United. I go and watch them because they're West Ham.
This is where I am in agreement with you, because you know I bantered with you know, my mates that I go to football with, etc. I mean, I see Peter's online and Julie's online, etc. And we may well say it's shit. But the next fixture that comes up, we're going like, can you get a ticket for this game? Can you get a ticket for this game? It doesn't matter who it is. And if we get, I mean, I'm not going to be happy if we get relegated. I don't think anybody will be. But I know damn well I'll be renewing my season ticket and going to wherever it's going to be. You know, that's not an acceptance of, oh well, it's shit, but hey, it doesn't matter.
No,
it's a matter of supporting, you know, and I'm don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this by suggesting that people who think it's shit, I'm never going to watch West Ham until we're back in the Premier League, are not supporting the club. But for me, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether we are in the Premier League or in the Championship. I'll still go to the games, you know, because I'm a fan of the club and of West Ham United. And of course we want to be in the Premier League because it feels or it sounds or it is more glamorous. But I will be there on a Wednesday night against Rotherham if that's the case, you know, because, you know, we support the team, don't we?
Yeah, you know, as I say, people got their own reasons. You know, I'm not a supporter of David Moyes. You know, I'm a supporter of West Ham. I'm not at the moment, and guess what, people? We don't get to pick the manager. We don't.
No.
We don't even get to pick the owners. You know,
No.
so we're just saddled with it. So we can either, I don't know, you know, tear ourselves apart, or I always try and look on the positive side, or sometimes I will try and give the opposite opinion to try and say to people, you know, you can get bogged down too much in the negativity. And that's why sometimes I will come out and say, it's not a defense of David Moyes in lies. What he's saying is, but hold up, this is what has happened. It can happen. It can turn just like that. It is possible. Even with a manager like David Moyes, results can change in an instant. And not just West Ham. Plenty of clubs have gone on late runs where the teams down the bottom all of a sudden win 4 or 5 games. And they've got clear of it. And the team that hasn't done that has fallen from, you know, mid-table and got relegated. Old City once.
I like Paul's point here. I think the 3 teams that go down have the combination of bad players, bad owners, and the bad manager. We have 2, nearly 3, with some toxic players, which seems to Paul suggesting that, you know, I'm probably speaking for you, Paul, but he's probably suggesting we've got bad owners, a bad manager, but we've got the players, haven't we? That the players can get us out of this, can't they? You know, because we've got enough talent in that squad, not only to win the Europa Conference, but also.
I would say we've got an average manager. I wouldn't say he's a bad manager.
Right.
I would say we've got an average manager. Now, you know, I came out ages ago, said, look, I'm ambivalent. I am about Moyes. If the club sack him, ta-da, yeah. If they keep him, right, I will say then he is the man that leads us. We're better off getting behind him than we are keep slaughtering him.
Mm-hmm.
Bit rich, maybe, as Sam Allardyce, but let's face it, I was Allardyce out the day he signed the contract in 2011. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was never getting anything off me because the man was alien to our football culture. Moyes' way he plays football, I would argue, he's not the lump it up, kick it up to the big man and everything else. It's yes, it's pragmatistic. Yes, it involves more defending, but playing with a high tempo. When it worked, it was very entertaining.
It was entertaining.
Football. It was goal scoring and everything. The problem with Moyes is when it don't work, it ain't entertaining. You know, Leeds at times don't work, but fuck me, they're more enjoyable to watch than West Ham.
Even if they lose,
No, even when they lose, and this is the thing. I would rather be in Leeds' position than ours. One, because they're out of the bottom three, but B, even when they're losing, it's more bloody entertaining than watching West Ham.
Yeah.
If for me, if Moyes don't win in Europe and keep us up, gone. So he's got not only has he got to keep us up, he's got to win the cup. And
he has got to do both, hasn't he?
Yeah, for me, he's got to do it. Otherwise, now's the ideal opportunity. With Declan Rice probably being off and everything, we're going to have to rebuild the team because not only that, Rice will go, but then we've got a lot of still aging players that you need to regenerate. Perhaps perhaps it is true. A Premier League manager should only get 3 years, and if you've done, you know, and then you've reached the time. Moyes has had 3 years. Let's go and find someone. You know, there's someone out there. I don't follow other managers too much. I watch a bit of German football. There's a few managers out there I think could come and do a turn. Personally, I've always preferred someone with a West Ham connection. You know, a lot of people think I'm bonkers about that, but I've always preferred a West Ham man to be managing West Ham.
Michael Carrick?
Well, look, there's a whole host of players out there managing that have got West Ham connections.
I mean, he's doing exceptionally well. I mean, if Middlesbrough go up, you know, he'll probably want to see.
Of course, yeah. You know, and it looks like probably Middlesbrough will go. You know, well, they've got to be keen, but not just. You know, if I'm truthful, even though it don't look like happen. You know, I said it a few weeks ago. They've gone top of the Bundesliga now, but Edin Terzic was a coach under Bilic. And he got the job at Dortmund by default. Yeah, he was coaching there, and they sacked the manager, and they stuck by him. The fans supported him, and now look, he was just number two. Got number one because he was like the caretaker manager.
Yeah,
done well, kept the job, and look at look what he's done. So you got him now. There is the Will Still thing. I wouldn't object to him being given such big gamble. Yeah.
Well, this is you see, I'm a bit dismissive of that whole Will Still thing because it sounds too much like a fairy tale, and you know, and I know he's doing all right in the French league, etc. But we keep being reminded that the leagues, most of the other European leagues, are not the Premier League. You know, when it comes to bringing a player over, you know, when we go mad about a player coming from, I don't know, German league or whatever it may be, you know, we're always reminded by people, oh, well, it's not the Premier League. You know, they ain't going to fucking do the same as they're doing over there. They're tin pot leagues over there. But yet we've got this thing about Will Still in the French league.
Yeah, but hold up, though. The main thing is we say we've got that, yeah, but how many managers, yeah, have only ever managed in the Premier League that are currently manage a Premier League club? Yeah, so Pep, obviously Spain, isn't it? Well, Arteta, I suppose you could say, but obviously he comes from the school of Pep. You know, if you look now at all the big clubs, they're bringing in foreign managers. But then look at lower down. You know, look at Brighton. Look at, they've gone to De Zerbi, Villa, Wolves. They went over to Spain, brought in Lopetegui
the
and
manager
Unai
that's just
Emery.
been released in Germany, Nagelsmann, who's a lot of people are talking about him being a very good manager.
He is. I mean, he started, I think, at Leipzig at 28. Yeah, another Will Still, but he did fantastic at Leipzig. He then went to Bayern. You know, he's paid in every price, but from what I understand, it's possible that Bayern pulled the trigger because deep down they wanted Tuchel. They've always wanted Tuchel. He's always been in their plans, and that they were worried that Tottenham were going to go and get him because they've only just been knocked off top spot. I think they've lost 2 games in the league this season, Bayern Munich. They're still in the hunt for the Bundesliga trophy. They've got the quarterfinals of the Champions League, and they're still in the DFB Cup. I mean,
and he
Jesus
wasn't
Christ,
enough. And he wasn't good enough.
Yeah, and yet, and so when you look at it and nail it down, this was a sacking more to do with the fact that their preferred choice of Tuchel was maybe on the cards of going somewhere else. So they went actually.
And it sounds like they're talking. Nagelsmann's been talked about going to Spurs.
Well, I got a text from EB in Germany, and I'm not sure we could afford his wages. He would have to take a significant wage cut.
What the fuck's he on?
10 million a year, apparently.
Well, Moyes is near that, isn't he? He's on 7 or something, isn't he?
I don't think. No, he's not on. He's not on. No.
English Yardie, I don't know the answers to that, but I know Nigel's going to know. Stel, where does Moyes rank in Premier League managers 1 through? Do you mean for West Ham Premier League managers or amongst all managers? Because it's quite a difference, isn't there? I mean, when it comes to West Ham managers, he's still ranking 2nd best Premier League manager now. Or has he gone down to 3rd?
It's borderline. I think he's dropped to 3rd.
Dropped to 3rd.
But if he can pull out 4 or 5 wins out of the next 12 games,
he'll go back up to 2nd.
It's borderline. He could even nick top spot back again.
Back to top spot. All right. We started off talking about Ghent and we got sidetracked yet again. Well, not Ghent, about Europa Conference. Yep. We're winning it, aren't we? Or am I being a little bit too presumptuous?
Look, listen, I'll be highly disappointed if we don't get to the final.
Yeah.
And then from the final, it's a 90-minute or 120-minute and penalty shootout. It's a lottery. So,
and this ain't the first time that we played them, is it?
No. I
know you're going to know more about this than I am.
Yeah.
Well, no, I do know about this because this was the first time we were ever in Europe.
Yes.
And this led us to the Cup Winners' Cup final. Am I wrong?
Yes, this was the first round. Yeah.
Yeah, first round. So there you go. La Gantoise, who are now known as Ghent.
Yeah.
We've faced them once before, and I can't remember. I did have it in my Monday night show. I can't remember the score lines, but yeah, that was the road to our winning the Cup Winners' Cup.
Yeah, and it's funny because you think of how highly celebrated winning that trophy is. Then look at the teams that we beat. You know, we beat Zagreb, who had no great European pedigree. We beat Real Zaragoza in the semi-final, not a great European pedigree. TSV Munich in the final, now plying their trade in Division. Well, they don't have a Division 3, but in 3rd tier of German football. So when you look at the teams, you could go, well, they weren't up to much cop, but we don't say that, do we?
No, we don't.
We celebrate the fact that we progressed through every round and won the tournament.
You got to just play who you got to play against, haven't you? And,
in cup football, you don't. It's a lot. In cup football, it's a lottery.
And I tried to sort of look at Ghent compared to the two teams that we played in the Belgian league. We played Ghent last season, and they're currently league leaders.
Yeah.
And they weren't much cop last season, were they?
No.
In the Europa League, they
No.
looked average at best.
Yeah.
And then we played Anderlecht, and it was a surprise that Anderlecht got through. To be honest, I was, it surprised me that they got through to this leg, because this stage of the competition. Because when we played them yet again, I kind of said that Anderlecht were a little bit unlucky in, I think, maybe our first game. But again, they didn't really show enough to sort of demonstrate that they were a top team to be, certainly they got a history, good history, but it's not their current. And so Ghent are in between. Anderlecht is something like 8th place. I think Ghent are 4th in the league, something like that. And
well,
Ghent,
look, the Belgian league is probably on par with the Scottish league.
right.
Yeah. So you would like to think that we would beat Ghent, let alone Genk. And I would like to think that. So there's no one in Belgium that I would be worried about. Even AZ Alkmaar in the Dutch league. The Dutch league is probably a touch more competitive than the Belgium league, if we're being honest.
I actually have a fear of Alkmaar. I mean, they look really, really good against Lazio.
Yeah, they did very well in the league the other day. They got beat.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
I see. This is how much I keep up to date.
Straight after Europe, I think they got beat 2-1.
Right, okay.
By Enschede or something like that. But so look, they're in and around. I think they're like 4th.
Okay.
Alkmaar, but probably that's the same as playing, Hearts or Aberdeen. You would expect to beat them. I'm sure there may be foreign people watching this going, "Oh, he's being a bit sniffy about that." But at the end of the day, the Premier League is the biggest league or the most competitive league in the world. It is. It is where the likes of Bournemouth will beat Liverpool.
Mm.
And it is the likes of where Bournemouth go 2-0 up away at Arsenal, and they're unlucky to lose it. On each team's day, anyone can beat anyone. What's this say?
I like this. Miss Smith says, Nigel's a warm pair of mittens in a blizzard of negativity. The constant hysterics on other channels is too boring.
It's a warm pair of mittens. Dear, oh dear.
She said, basically, she means you're a warming person. You're a person that gives us a little bit of comfort and a smile on our face.
I'm not going to say it's the easy thing to do. Is at the end of the day, watching football where we lose week in, week out, it is hard to be. There is no positivity. I'm not sitting here, and this is the thing. A lot of people think, "Oh, is he blind or whatever?" I ain't blind. I bloody go every home game. I've been to a couple of away games now this season. I can see we ain't playing well. I'm not trying to kid people, but it's not as bad as people paint it. It's not. Or the fact is that I'm just so old that I've been here and seen so many times before.
Well, that's the other thing, isn't it? We've seen it. We've seen relegation.
Yeah.
We've seen. I was mad enough to suggest that we got relegated under one of our most revered managers in the past. Mr. Lyle. And I was also mad enough to suggest that some of the football that we played back then was not exactly brilliant, and and I was told, because when this isn't a protection of David Moyes and his approach, because I must be honest, I'm withered by the fact that he approaches games in the way that he does. Sometimes when it looks like we could be winning it, he pulls it back, and a draw will do, and all that sort of stuff. But it hasn't always been rosy as a West Ham fan, has it? We have had dark days. We have seen it before. And that's why I think probably where you're coming from, and the way I think, is by winning a cup, by winning this Cup Winners' Cup that people call a Tin Pot Cup, would be a massive marker for us. You know, of course, I don't want it to be to the detriment of us going down, but we've got a fucking cracking chance, haven't we? Now we've got a cracking chance of winning this.
You know, we're going off. I do wonder sometimes people's expectations of West Ham. If you look at the recent history of West Ham, which if you look at it, say from 1958 onwards, which is when we got promoted into Division 1. So 58 we got promoted. From 1900, when West Ham was formed, to 1958, we'd spent 9 years in top flight football. That's your lot. Yeah. So the start of modern era West Ham in top flight football is 1958. So since then, we've only spent 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We've spent about 8 or 9 seasons since 1958 out of the top flight. But while we were in top flight, how many times have we finished top 10?
What, 4?
No,
5?
no. We're top 10, we've probably done 10, 11 times.
Okay.
But that's since 1958. Is that a big club? Is that you know, the biggest thing about this club is its supporter base. The supporter base is what makes West Ham United a big club. And that's it. Because and you could throw in, oh, we've won trophies. We've won a European trophy, European Cup Winners' Cup.
Victor's saying this now. We can't be picky what cups we can win.
Exactly. Yeah. Guess what? Tottenham won it. Chelsea won it. Arsenal won it. Yeah. Liverpool never won it. But then Liverpool won the UEFA Cup. Tottenham won the UEFA Cup. You know, so what we've done here is we've won the FA Cup 3 times, European Cup Winners' Cup. Nothing since 1980. So 43 years now this year. Does that mean we're a big club? No. Financially, because of the power of the Premier League, you could argue we're a big club. And I'll say it again. I'll say it before. If you look at the is it the Forbes top 25 clubs in Europe, the rich list? West Ham always makes the top 25 rich list in Europe. If you look at the other teams in it, at some point in their history, they've won the league title in their country. And West Ham's never done that. You know, I suppose part of being a football fan is you got to have your dreams, you got to have your hopes, you got to have your expectations. You know, which I'm not here to knock. You can dream about winning the Premier League, but just remember, people, it's a dream. You will wake up.
As people keep telling me, I've finally woken up about Moyes this season.
Well, yeah, but you will wake up and realise, well, you know, that Premier League, and they'll always go, oh, but Leicester did it. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, well,
we thought 2015-16 was a good season. Yeah, we were 3 or 4 points, I think. You know, if we'd have beat Stoke and Swansea in 2 of the last 3 games, we'd have been in the Champions League. Stoke and Swansea.
We didn't. And a couple of seasons ago, what, we were 2 points off it, or 1 point off, or whatever.
We slipped away a bit when we finished 6th, but I mean, you know, we laugh at Tottenham finishing 3rd in the 2-horse race in 2016 by ignoring the fact that I think we fell from 5th to 7th, getting beat by Stoke City on the last day of the season.
Are we winning? Are we winning it?
I think in my head says everything is on. My heart says yes.
I genuinely think we're gonna do it. I really do. But anyway, let's move on. We've talked about relegation. We think we're not going to be relegated.
Yeah.
We talked about Europa Conference. Let's get on very briefly, shall I do that or shall I do the other? I'll tell you what, let's get on to this and then we can move on to the other. Been a good week for internationals in a way, hasn't it? Declan has proved his doubters wrong. Souness and Roy Keane eating their words, or
yeah. Well, look, the thing about Roy Keane, yeah, when he criticises Declan Rice, you got to remember, yeah, that for him it's probably personal, and he's got every right, in
because
my
of
opinion.
Republic of Ireland.
Yeah, is at the end of the day, he did pull on the Irish shirt 3 times. He stood there while their national anthem was played in a full international, not under 21s, not well, he played all
But they
his
were
youth career
friendlies.
for Ireland. Yes, I blame FIFA. That's who I blame. If they're the ones that have made the rules,
Yeah,
he's followed the rules.
yeah.
He only played friendlies. Now Martin O'Neill's come out and said we probably wouldn't have played him because apparently, even while he was playing for Ireland in friendlies, it was still on the cards that he would switch to England. That deep down they knew he wanted to play for England, but he had some loyalty to Ireland because he'd been through their youth setup. But I think it's always a big step, and I said it at the time: if a player can do that, they'll do it at club level.
And this takes me on to the question quite nicely about him being made captain this season, because a lot of people are saying, and just to the point that you've just made, should he have been made captain this season knowing that he's likely to leave?
Yes.
You'd still believe he should have been?
Yes.
Do you not think that's hindered him or hindered West Ham in any way?
I think he's shown a bit of naivety. I think, is he a leader of men? I think his performances show it. Yeah. The only bit of naivety I think has come sometimes in. I don't think he takes criticism well, especially when he walks in after a defeat, and they've got to do this stupid thing. You know, Bobby Moore never had to do it. Billy Bonds never had to do it. Walk off the pitch and give an interview instantly there and then. And I think he's, you know, a couple of times he's sort of got, but I'll forgive that as a heat of the moment thing, walking off a football pitch. You know, the comment about, you know, people not having played the game, I think is always, you know, listen, we may not have played the game, but when you spend like 45 years of your life or longer, or even 25 or whatever, you got a good understanding of what's right or what's wrong in the game.
Does that show his naivety more than anything else?
I don't know
he's a young captain.
Well, no, I don't think he is. He's 24. You know, Rio Coca was younger than him. Bobby Moore was younger than him.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, that we've had Joe Cole was younger than him.
Yeah. We
didn't go around going, "Ooh, too young." But I bet you Julian Dix was younger than him when he got made captain.
Possibly. Yeah. Yeah.
So no, I don't think. And in a way, unlike most captains, he actually did an apprenticeship. Because in all but name, he was captain last season, and nobody was ever saying, "Oh, he shouldn't be captain. He shouldn't be captain." We're struggling this season. People will point fingers everywhere. His performances ain't as good. Well, no, they're not. But then again, guess what? Every player we've used, their performances probably hasn't been as good. So it's a team thing. You could put that on the manager. You could put it on the manager.
Yeah, yeah. The way he's utilised him. Someone's making a comment about shouldn't be taking corners, given that he's, you know, he can be dangerous in the box.
Yeah,
and so on.
Silly.
I mean, John said, you know, I agree with Nigel. I agree regarding Keane's issues because it's. But what about where's Souness coming from on this? What's his?
Well, I mean, in a way, I suppose Declan Rice is a similar position to what Souness played. You know, Souness was a breaker up of play, gets the ball down. you know, but he wasn't the stylish midfielder. He was a box-to-box midfielder. The thing about Souness is he got you more goals than Declan. The one thing, and I think it's a fair criticism actually, even though funny enough he did score last night, you know, is he don't
score enough
he
goals.
don't score enough goals. I think that was
Yeah.
his third or second England goal.
Third goal for England.
Third goal
Yeah.
for England. I should know because I did write an article about it last night. You know, his third goal last. Now he's now fourth in the West Ham.
Yeah, 40 caps.
40 caps. So he's now in fourth spot we've had 44 players.
Thank God he did that before he leaves, eh?
Well, yeah, as I said though, for him to catch Trevor Brooking, he needs to be still playing for West Ham by the middle of October.
Which he won't be.
So, well, stranger things have happened at sea.
Here's my theory on this, and you may shoot me down.
Yeah.
If we win the Europa Conference, we've had a season with the likes of Paquetá, Agerd, etc., and we survive relegation. He might turn around and go, another season with these guys. We're probably going to improve again in the transfer window as well. Forget who's going to be manager. Let's put that to one side for now. Another, you know, a third season in a row in Europe. We've won a trophy. Another season with the likes of Paquetá, who've had a year in Premier League, Skamaka, Gerd, and all that sort of stuff. I might just stay another season. Theoretical, I know, but possibility.
No, look, at the end of the day, he might play in the final. We might win it. He holds the cup up. He joins Billy Bonds and Bobby Moore as the only people to lift trophies for West Ham. He might then go and play for England against, I don't know, San Marino, yeah, and twist his ankle, yeah, and be out for 3 months. Who knows? You know, look at Gascoigne.
Are you advocating that someone should?
No,
you know...
what I'm saying is, in football, shit like that happens. You know, Gascoigne cup finals his last game to Spurs. Everything else. He's going, oh, fucks his knee or transfers delayed. You know, and he ended up. I think he came back at the end of the season, played a few more games for Spurs before then joining Lazio the year later. But what I'm saying is that there's an off chance. There's always that slim chance, but it can happen.
Okay, let me ask you a different question to this. Anthony is saying Rice was made captain, hoping that West Ham will get him to stay. I kind of, in a way, agree with that. But
I think he does. I think the funny thing is, I think actually he was the right person, that he'd actually done his apprenticeship. You know, he'd come in at the age of 17, 18. He's played 200 games for West Ham. You know, he hardly misses a game. He's hardly ever injured. I think he'd actually earned the respect and everything of everyone in that squad to actually replace Mark Noble. So just to say, oh, we only did it to keep him, I think it is a bit unfair.
So let me ask you this question then. We win the Europa Conference.
Yep.
Declan holds the cup up, as you just said. Billy Bonds, Bobby Moore.
That's your lot. Yeah.
That's your lot. Does that make him go, I'm going out on a high? Or does that make him go, I might just stay another season?
Deep down, I think in a way it is going out on a high.
Yeah.
Because it can never be taken. Imagine that. And this is the funny thing is, you know, you got Mark Noble, Mr. West Ham, yeah, and yet Declan joins Billy Bonds and Bobby Moore.
Whereas Mark Noble didn't raise a trophy.
You know, we've all got pictures of people of Bobby Moore and and Billy Bonds holding the cup, yeah, when they're presented it. So that's that will be the new, you know. Imagine the painting Len will do and what that will sell for. Yeah.
That Black Country and Ralph, lads, I really honestly don't think he is staying. you know, I'm kind of playing devil's advocate. Ralph says, "Still, I'm smoking what you are. Rice, stay deluded. Black Country, you're dreaming, mate. Rice has gone in some. I do believe he'll go. I do believe he'll go. I just think, like you said, there's a small chance he might just turn around and go."
Well, I didn't say he was going to turn around and go, I'll stay, did he? What I said was he'll fucking do his ankle or something, get injured.
You
then
made it more extreme.
Yeah,
and made it more extreme. Okay, let me put it another way. He might go. Look, I'll give Chelsea another year to get their shit together, so they're in the Champions League, and then I'll go to them.
Well, I think there was a rumor. I don't know. I think it was on Shit Hammer Time podcast. I do listen. If anybody listens, I do listen. I'd say that with true fondness. You are shit, but I do love you for it. Because imagine the podcast I don't listen to. So I think it was Delaney who said apparently a friend of a family or something, Declan Rice, has turned around and said that if we went down, he would feel guilty and may want to stay and get us up. Also throw into the hat. If he stays for one more season, it probably would end up in a court case. But he would try and vote and say, my contract's run out, I'm off, I'm signing, and I'm going to keep the money.
Well, why would he end up in the court case, though? Because I know we've got the 2-year option. Hasn't that got to be agreed by the club?
Well, I think the club's stance is
we've got the option.
Yes, it's a one way. Yeah, what happened with Ben Johnson, though.
Well, no, see, we thought we extended Ben Johnson by 2 years because
unilateral
we had the option.
Yeah,
was it unilateral?
Well, I don't think he was. He didn't want to sign a contract. Yes, right. Well, so can we not tell Declan what? And this is where you'd think, well, Ben Johnson ain't really got the money to go to court. Where it may be if Declan Rice is looking at a £50 million payday as a free transfer.
Well, you know, this is why I know people are saying I'm deluded, but that's why I kind of playing devil's advocate, because he can walk away as a free agent. Yeah. And go to whoever he wants, demand what he wants, gets a signing on fee. It could be in his favour, couldn't it?
Yeah.
By staying another season.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, what's best for West Ham?
You know, I'm genuinely I'm torn between the two, to be quite honest with you. I've said in the past, we're better off keeping him, getting the most out of him. Another season or so with all the players that we got, etc., etc. See where it gets us. Let him go. Thank you very much. Bye bye. Build a good platform for us with the players, etc. And then there's the other side of me that goes, oh fuck it, just sell him, get the money, and then use that money to rebuild the squad. So I swear I'm 50-50 on it, and it's not me being deluded about wanting to keep him, because I think the bottom line is he's got all the aces, isn't he? It's
yeah. Personally, I think that we need to tear up what we're doing and start again.
In what sense?
You know, clear out a lot of people, management including, and then try and start again.
Here's an interesting point you making that. I sat next to, I've told you this, haven't I? I sat next to Nicky on the flight back from Cyprus.
Yes.
And we were talking about how we got relegated. People, Nicky Hawkins from West Ham Fan TV, we were talking about the last time we got relegated, and he said he believes it was by design in order to do what you just said, clear out.
Yeah, I don't believe it was by design. It was something that had been probably set in stone once the Icelandics run out of money, the lack of investment in the squad. We cleared the decks, and then it was down to terrible management of the club by the ownership of Gold, Sullivan and Brady. In the appointment of Avram Grant, the players that were brought in were wrong, and it probably set the tone for their ownership. There's no way they could have designed that. You know, at the end, the funny thing is, as I say, do you think they wanted to put £32 million of their own money into the club? Because that's what they had to do to get back out of that division. They had to. That's the largest ever sum of money they put into the club was in that relegation season to make up the shortfall. So I don't think it was by design.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
but I can see why people may think that, because it and perhaps that's where I'm thinking that it needs to be. We need something like that again. West Ham have been relegated every decade since the 1970s, and it does need just once every decade though. And sometimes it has brought about a regeneration that when we come back, so the relegation of 2003, we then ended up playing in the 2006 FA Cup final with hardly anyone off the top of my head that featured in the 2003 season. So there's a little blueprint there.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So he did really well, and I'd sort of bantered on Facebook that his goal added another 5 million on his valuation on the other night. He goes, but there's another player that was on international duty tonight that seems to have caused quite a lot of interest. First, I mean, I did a show the other night actually asking, should he have even been picked for the Czech Republic, Vladimir Coufal, given that he's missed the last 5 games? He clearly has proved that he's fit enough because he played, and apparently he made an assist in their 2-1 win, I think it was, against whoever they played. And then he came out with some statements, didn't he, about David Moyes, about being purely a pure pragmatist. The end justifies the means. I've probably never seen such an orthodox pragmatist when he has results at the expense of everything, maybe sometimes even the game. I mean, what is that damning of David Moyes, or is that just his assessment of here's a manager that does things in a particular way? He didn't say he agrees or doesn't agree with it. He just talked about Moyes as...
It doesn't come across it's said in a critical way.
No, it didn't, did it?
And even to the point where he goes, you know, he spoke to me and said, "Oh, I was wrong in not picking you."
Yeah.
And I wouldn't, you know, that
I don't want you to
was supposed
go
to
if
be
someone's
sniffing.
in for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In January. So, and he started playing Coufal more, where it looked like he was bombing him out of the door.
Yeah.
But sometimes when, look, we know we've Nick Killington at Claret and Booze, how he can sort of go off on a rant about Moyes, but and in a way, this then leads me to think, well, Nick there has got a point in that Moyes' football is it's not good on the eye, as we've already said. When a player comes out and says, "Oh, it's a means to the end," you know, is that what I want? Well, no, it ain't. To be fair, it's almost makes me think, or helps me get to the point where I go, do you know what? Let's get this season done, and then unless he wins a trophy, then we can let him go out to pastures green. If we don't go, Dave, if he keeps us up and we lose in the final, off you go. Your head's held die. Yeah, you've done 3 years at West Ham. You came in when we were teetering on relegation, and luckily or by hook or by crook, you kept us up. You qualified us for Europe 2 years running. Not many managers have done that. You know, it's time that we start again, because it's all about the end result was not a mantra that I thought realistically should be associated with West Ham. You know, the West Ham way was born out of, if you take what Ron Greenwood said in his comment, in that the fan base of West Ham it's not purely about results. Yeah, it's about a certain way of playing. Then Coufal's comment when you stand on the sidelines, we can argue between ourselves. When a player comes out and says that says to me, well, actually, yeah, I think your time here is up because you are misreading.
Ralph is saying the same thing.
You are misreading. Yeah.
Coufal said that the expenses of the game is damning.
Yeah, and it's mad because when you read the whole interview in the context, it doesn't sound like a criticism. It's just an honest assessment of David Moyes. But as look, I do think that West Ham should play a certain way. I do believe in that there is a West Ham way of playing, and that the football should be entertaining, and that should be at the forefront.
I'm going to ask you a direct question here, mate, because what you've just said.
Yeah.
And I know we've kind of touched on it earlier on, and we did a bit of a comparison. But in all honesty, you've just said yourself, and one of the things that I think you were rightly critical of in the past was about Allardyce not getting the West Ham way. The way he was quite critical about West Ham, cupping his ears and asking what's the West Ham way and all that sort of stuff. Moyes is quite close to that, isn't he? He's almost like, because of what Coufal has suggested, what in what he said about Moyes being a pragmatist, etc., almost to the detriment of the result, blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
isn't that a similar sort of thing to say he's not much different from Allardyce in his approach, in his mannerism, in his belief of how the game should be played, against what we believe the game to be played?
I will argue till the cows come home and the day I die that Moyes and Allardyce don't play a similar style of football.
No, but many would argue it's almost as turgid.
Maybe, and this is the thing that Moyes, when Allardyce's football was successful, it was still pretty poor to watch. Yeah,
it was.
Even
when we beat Spurs with a false number 9.
No. Well, that was okay. But what I'm saying is how bad was it? And we can bang back to that whole game. Yeah.
Oh, what when we won because of
an own goal
and the penalty?
An own goal and a penalty. And the own goal was scored by a defender that had no West Ham player standing next to him when he kicked it into his own goal. Yeah. So we had no right. I think they were down to 10 men as well. Didn't they have their goalkeeper McGregor sent off?
Yeah.
I think it was McGregor sent off. Down to 10 men. And it was that bad, and that was winning. When we've won under Moyes, it's never been that bad. So I will argue to anybody that Moyes football is different to Allardyce football. But pragmatism, I suppose, at the end of the day, is pragmatism. And yes, with Moyes, we can laugh and joke at it, but those games earlier in the season when he was sending out 3 defensive midfield players with 5 known defenders at the end of the day around him, and that he stands in front of me, and this is, I've said it's where he loses me, when he then stands up and goes, well, I know what the problem is we're not scoring enough goals. And Dave Moyes' answer to that is, I'm going to play more defenders. Well, that ain't, and that's where I start.
I'm laughing, but it's not a laughing matter, is it? Really?
But and this is the thing, because what that says to me, here is a man that knows what the problem is, but here is a man that don't.
Yeah, and yet he does the opposite.
Yeah. And I do come back to who do I rather watch lose? I'd rather watch Leeds lose than West Ham lose.
I get that. I get that because of the entertainment factor. Yeah.
So,
and we've always said as fans, haven't we? So long as you put effort in, and you play entertaining football. We all. Yeah. I mean, what was the game that we clapped the players off when we got stuffed, by a ridiculous result in Europe?
Oh, Tbilisi, you're talking
Tbilisi. When we clapped, we not only we applauded that. We were clapping the team that just stuffed us because we saw entertaining football.
There was a great game under Redknapp, And I do allude to it because I do remember walking out with my mate thinking, "Fuck me, wasn't that fun?"
The
We got beat by Leeds 5-1.
Oh, that's not the one I'm thinking of.
Right.
Right.
We got beat by Leeds 5-1. We had 3 players sent off. Right. Until the end, we were attacking.
Yeah.
Yeah. We still kept attacking. We didn't shrink even when we lost Ian Wright, I think, in the first half. I think we then lost I think it was Craig Forrest in goal. And then I think Mark Vivian Fowey got sent off late. But even when we were down to 9 men, West Ham was still attacking, still looking to score. And it was for me, I thought it was an entertaining game of football. Yes, we lost 5-1, but I walked out of there, and this is what I wanted. Look at how refreshing was it under Bilic that first season after the Allardyce years.
Oh yeah.
I can tell you that. Yeah. I remember. So the West Ham pitch side and half-time announcer, Chris Skull, who does the quiz at half-time and all that. So I know Chris. So, and he knew what I felt about Allardyce. I bumped into him outside the Black Lion after we'd been beat by, who was it beat us 4-3? Bournemouth.
I can't remember what happened last week, let alone what happened.
We got beat 3-2 by Leicester and 4-3 by Bournemouth at home. But we'd beat Arsenal away and Liverpool away. And they went, I bet you're happy now we lost. And I was deadly serious. And they said, happy? Who couldn't be happy watching that? We've seen 7 goals. I said, we've scored 3. I said, and we won the second half. If we hadn't been so shit in the first half, we might have been all right. There's nothing there that tells me we've done the wrong thing.
Yeah.
That's how it should be for me.
So, given that, is what Coufal said a damning indictment on Moyes? And should the board be looking at that and going, there's enough players now this season? Because we've heard quite a few players that have come out and talked about
the board, and this
the
is
shackles, etc.
Yeah,
etc.
the board are not going to. The board are going to be. I don't know what they're going to be doing with the manager. I think there's a void in the boardroom now. God knows we can talk about the Kretinsky bit in a minute.
Yeah, I'm just going to come to that. Yeah.
God knows what Kretinsky's real things. It's all right. Other people that are connected or got connections close to the club going, he's just a serial investor. His history said everything about his history is he's just here for the money, for an investment. And when we say money, is that he's bought in at a time. He foresees Premier League football clubs going up. Does the old axis of evil still exist today?
What's the axis of evil?
Well, the Gold family and the Sullivan family. Yeah, because obviously David Gold's
passed away. God
well,
bless their
yes,
soul.
but the families are still there. Do they still though? Because what you got to remember, Gold and Sullivan were almost band together in the way they voted.
They were, yeah,
and that's why I believe Dave Sullivan was happy to give up 50-odd% ownership of the club, take it down to 35.
Because it was always backed
because
up
he
by
always knew he had the backing of David Gold's shares.
Not anymore, though.
Well, who knows?
Because just before we came on air, I asked you for clarification on this.
Yeah.
Did Coufal say that's up to the future owner, Daniel Kretinsky?
This is what it's being
Did he actually
translated.
physically say? Did he actually say that?
Well, look, I don't speak Czechoslovakian, do you?
Well, this is because when I read the columns about it, it said it's up to the future owner.
Yeah.
But the way I've interpreted it, I could be wrong, and if people know better than me, then please tell me in the chat. But the way I interpreted it was it's up to the future owner. That he said, but I don't think he actually said Daniel Kretinsky.
Well, look, it's going to give shows like this. Every show's going to talk about this now.
Oh, yeah, I'm way behind. I'm 2 days behind on this.
The views of YouTube. We're going to see this debated to death now. What did he mean?
What did he mean by it?
What does he know? Does he know that new owners are on the horizon? Because if you listen to people whose senior sources are quite close to them, will tell
he's
you
on holiday at the moment.
he is. Yeah, he's in Rome and enjoying ice cream. So, what you know? What? Then they're not selling. They're not selling for another 2 years at least. They want around, you know. So, but he said the word. If he didn't say Kretinsky, new owner, why would he
just
say
said future owner?
All right, but why would he say future owner?
Yeah, exactly.
Because that alludes to actually something's happening pretty soon. Because he would say that's for the ownership.
It adds fuel to the whole fire, doesn't it? It adds fuel to the fire of everyone believing that Gold and Sullivan were going to sell up at the end of March because of the clause on the stadium. And then with David Gold passing away, oh, well, it's definitely is going to. And then we heard, well, actually, you know, the Gold family have already got representation with Dan Cunningham, the son-in-law. And now with Jacqueline Gold passing away, oh, well, they're definitely going to sell up. And then this whole thing about needing to keep the money, shares in a trust for 2 years. So we're hindered for another 2 years.
But then that turns out to only be 7% of the shares.
Right. And not the whole thing. Yeah. So it does add fuel to the fire of what does it add fuel to the fire? What was he speaking with knowledge, or was it just a throwaway comment? Yeah, oh, the future owner.
Who knows? Only he knows, and only the, you know, it was it a Freudian slip? And this is the thing. If we say, because the what I've been sent is, he says future owner Daniel Kretinsky. Now I've not seen them or watched it in Czechoslovakian to see whether he says Kretinsky or not. But if he says the words future owner, well, that presupposes he's expecting someone to buy the club in the summer, because they're talking about the continued managership of David Moyes, which they would know would be decided in the summer.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, Sean Freshfielder is saying Coufal said future owner definitely meant Kretinsky. According to Sean, you know, he believes it definitely meant Kretinsky. There's no timescale, as you just
and this thing, he says there's no timescale, yeah. But the strange thing about that is he's talking about a manager's future, and we know what a knife edge any manager's future is. I think 9 Premier League managers now have lost their job. That's nearly 50% in all from what started the season in August have now lost their job. So when he says future owner, does he think Moyes is still going to be here in 5 years' time? Then it's going to be interpreted, overinterpreted, talked to death. Nobody will know. Nobody.
No.
Not
I've
Sean,
got at least,
not
I've
X,
got at least 2.
not anyone.
That's the thing.
They will not know. No one will know.
Well, I've got at least 2 shows where I'm going to go, yes, it is Kretinsky, and no, it isn't. So there's 2 shows straight away.
I tell you what, it's a international weekend. People don't think that, you know, it's not even the best thing to come out this week, in my opinion, anyway. So,
is there something better than that?
Oh, better than that was the tweet on Twitter. I won't name the person or whatever, but it was brilliant.
You know, I do try. I know I'm trying to follow.
The tweet was in reply to something. I can't remember what it was, and they then listed about how Roberto deliberately played poorly to help get West Ham relegated with the backing of Pellegrini, so Pellegrini could get sacked and get a payoff. Now, it's one thing to tweet it. It was then another thing. Yeah, this person.
Let's go back. So apparently,
it was brilliant. It's so funny. It's really funny, and I'm doing it to lighten the mood, not to embarrass the person. I don't want to think. If you want to go and find it on Twitter, go and, I can't look at it anymore. Block me.
What a surprise!
Because it was so bonkers. That's what I put. It's, you know, it's akin to the world is flat and we never meant to the moon. Yeah, they said that Roberto was brought in. He was deliberately told to play poorly by Pellegrini,
so he could get a payoff.
so we would go down, or Pellegrini would be sacked. But, and this was the best bit. But Sullivan rumbled his pesky plan and sacked him. Now, I made a joke about it. That person then DM'd me a semi-long message and then blocked me on Twitter so I couldn't reply by DM or anything. And you think, that's like throwing a grenade in to the middle and not even waiting for it to explode to see what damage it does.
Not taking the pin out.
Fuck off as far away as possible as you can. And go, no, I don't know what you're going on about.
And he truly... This person truly believed that was.
If you, the DM was even better, you know.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they named other people. The other person then contacted me to totally deny anything they'd said. No, this is not. I'm not. This is total bonkers. And it was so bonkers. You know, what made it bonkers was it's one thing to say it as a joke. It's another thing when a person you thought was fairly sensible actually did believe it. Hey, not Circus Club people. I love it. I just love it. This is
why I don't.
I'll send you the stuff later still. It's fucking it because it is hilarious. It is hilarious. It made my day yesterday. It was yesterday.
This is why I can't be arsed with Twitter. I know you've told me I've got to use, and I've tried.
Yeah.
I've even spoken to my daughter about how to use Twitter better than I do, but there's some bile there. There's some absolute rubbish on there. Real talk, and it winds people up.
Yeah, but no, you got to take it with a. I love Twitter. I know you don't. I do. I love it. I've made some great friends there. It's a fantastic place, and you got to enjoy the bonkers people as well. You have to enjoy them.
El Chico knows who you're talking about.
Yes, yeah, because he's give the gender away. You know, I don't. And the thing is, I didn't want like no pylon or that thing or I don't want to. You know. I just thought, what a fantastic story. Please. You know, and I did, though, tweet out about, yes, we did go to the moon and the world is not flat. Because that's what it... And then a few people piped up to actually argue that we didn't go to the moon. But I couldn't go down that road.
Right. Let's finish off. With because it will all. I mean, how surprised were you? I mean, we just talked about whether Moyes is going to stay at the end of this next season or not. Is this a big suggestion that he ain't? Because we've announced we're going to fucking Australia.
G'day, mate. Yeah,
I mean,
I wrote a story yesterday
about tours.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to go any further than fucking Scotland.
No, but.
Go on.
But what people may not remember is we were contractually due to play in Australia in summer of 2020.
Oh. Now,
to the point that tickets were sold for a game against Crystal Palace in Brisbane, and we were due to play 2 games in Brisbane. And the tour got put on hold because of COVID, and then it finally got cancelled. So it's quite possible that this is honouring the commitments made. I did write about it in 6'2". I even managed to find the advertisement to the Crystal Palace game for 2020. So it could be honouring that agreement. Obviously, if you live in Brisbane, you got about a 6-hour flight to Perth now. but I suppose that's a downside more. Well, I believe they did finally get their money back eventually.
Right. Did they get them back in club
well,
money?
Yeah, but this is money. Well, you got to remember, this is not money that would have been paid to the club. this would have been paid to the organisers of the
Oh,
tour.
yeah.
Yeah, so so we've got to pay Perth Glory, I believe, who at the I've forgotten the name of the arena now because it's a sponsored arena. In 60,000 seat stadium, Perth Glory, who don't play their own games there. They play at the Perth Oval, which, believe it or not, when I looked up the stadium, Perth Oval, because Oval obviously means it's probably a cricket ground or an Aussie rules ground, yeah. Which I think it used to be, but it's now been named the Perth Rectangle because it's been converted into a football ground. So this is what I was reading something, and I'm thinking, oh mate, this is just too good. But anyway, yeah. So Western Australia, West Ham is coming. Quite whether those three will all be playing.
Well, the reason why I put that up there and kept it there is because Matt's replied, none of them will be with us next season.
It's not that. It's the tour is the tour is the start of pre-season. Yeah,
and you can take all your youngsters there.
Now there are international games in the middle of June.
Oh, are there?
So. Yes, so what you got to remember is that the Champions League final is the 10th of June. So therefore,
the final's on the 7th.
No, our final's on the 7th.
Oh, okay.
Which is
what
the Wednesday.
Final did you say?
The Champions League final would be on the 10th.
Oh, a few days later. Okay.
On the Saturday. Okay. The following weekends will be international football. There's England have got 2 games in June. Can't see, bearing in mind that Brazil and Morocco will probably have games in the summer as well. I'd be highly surprised to see. Now, West Ham did a tour before in 1995 to celebrate our centenary, which is, people know with me, it's the fake centenary. But anyway,
I know you're 5 years out, according to you.
So, of course, to celebrate our centenary, where better to go than Australia? I don't know. But anyway, there we went to Australia. We played in Perth against the Western Australia Select 11. And they had a young 21-year-old left winger, I believe, called Stan Lazaridis, who played so well against us that we parted with £300,000 and brought him home with us. Most of the players on the tour, I believe, were youth and reserve players. I think we only took 3 or 4 first teamers, but it was played like 3 days after the season finished, which was, I believe, the Man United game where we drew 1-1 and stopped them winning the title. We then flew out to Australia.
So do you see this much the same way then? It's going to be academy players to fulfill this commitment.
It'll be a mixture. Yeah, because if if Pat Qatar, I would expect to be playing Brazil. Again, I'd expect to be playing for Morocco. I would like to
be sold to another team.
Well, no, I think Bowen will stay whether we stay up or go down. I just think that I don't see those two. Surely they're gonna have to have 4 or 5 weeks off.
Well, exactly, they will, won't they?
Yeah.
They will.
So I don't see them.
So people losing their heads over the fact that Declan Rice wasn't on the photos or anything like that.
No.
It's irrelevant, isn't it? Really?
Well, 100%. England's got 2 games in the middle of June.
Yeah, so he won't be going, and like you've just alluded to, it's not likely that those 3 there are going to be going either. I think the Australians are going to get really, really pissed off when they find, Callum Marshall and Levi Lang.
I don't. They may be just so pleased to see a West Ham team. I don't know that they'll turn up.
Yeah, true, true. I mean, the other
Let's
question.
face it, their cricket team's shit now. So they've got nothing better to do, have they?
I don't follow cricket. It's a boring sport.
Oh, right.
I don't even call it a sport, but there you go.
Still. What do you Greeks play?
Cypriots, if you don't mind.
Oh.
You should have known that, given that we played over there recently. It's like calling you a towner or an out of towner. It's like when you call it, it's the same.
All right, what do Greek Cypriots play then?
Oh, fucking, we're shit at everything. As you saw, we're even shit at football, and that's probably our national sport. So there you go. So, as people have kind of alluded to in the chat,
all your goats were okay though still. Did you pop by and say hello?
Did I what? Sorry?
Pop by your goats and say hello. Is the herd okay?
No, but I'll tell you a little story.
No, they're not. What's going on?
No, got no goats out there. But I'll tell you a little story. I messaged my family out there and I went, I'm on my way to Cyprus. And they went, no problem.
Who are you?
Huh?
Who are you?
Who are you? And I said, and they went, no problem, we'll pick you up at the airport. And I wrote back to them about an hour later saying,
bring a bus,
airport, which is about 2.5 hours away from Nicosia. But they looked after me. They said, you know, you're not going to go and stay with all that riffraff down in Larnaca. You're staying with us in Nicosia. They gave me a car to go, and I had one beer when I was out there. One beer in all the 3 days.
I used to think Nicosia was the Greek Irishman. I didn't realise it was like an actual place.
I was well looked after. Anyway, going back to actually, there'll probably be more Greek Australians going to this game. And I mean, it's the second largest population in Australia.
Were they criminals and all?
No, not like you bloody English. No. As people have alluded to, is this going to be a championship tour? I mean, we've talked about this, haven't we? We talked about this.
Well, look, I don't know
how
if
much
there's
credence
a trophy
does it have if we go down.
If we go down, it's going to be a bit of a thing, because you remember the championship always starts earlier than the Premier League for a start. So they're only going to have, they're going to fly all the way out there, spend a week out there, and then maybe we can leave him Colton Cole. Just leave him out there. You can keep him. We're sorry, we've gone down. We ain't got any good players. Perhaps Colton's thinking he'll get a game if we get relegated.
I was going to say, don't knock him. He might put his boots on.
Yeah, he'll be as good as Scamacca as his goal-scoring record.
Oh, I'm not having that. But the irony of Scamacca being brought on 5 minutes to go before the game ended.
Yeah, and
that was fucking ironic.
It was West Ham-esque, because he didn't even touch the ball for them. He didn't even touch the ball for them.
So does that mean
he was giving me so much grief? Dodsey was giving me so much grief on the old WhatsApp. Yeah, and as I pointed out to him, he said, "Will this shut you up?" As I pointed out to him, no, it won't. He didn't even fucking touch the ball. So what an impact substitution that was.
Oh dear, oh dear. Miss Smith has got a question. Has a team ever been relegated and played in Europa or Europe? Will we be the first team to have done that if we go down?
Nope.
No, who's done it?
Who do you reckon?
No, fuck me, us. No. Yeah, no. We were in the first division when we played in Europe.
Yep. Yeah. So who got relegated and won a trophy and played in Europe?
I have no clue.
Testing your knowledge. Right. Wigan Athletic.
Whoa, really?
Well, they won the FA Cup when they beat Man City 1-0. Ben Watson header last minute. Obviously, then would have qualified for the Europa League. As FA Cup winners do. 2013 off the top of my head. People can go and check. So I'm pretty sure it's about 10 years ago.
You see, I mean, I don't even know what happened with West Ham, let alone know what happened with another bloody team. How do you know this stuff? I mean, seriously. I mean,
I am an FA Cup, but did I not tell you the story? I got all the way to the last. To the I was that close to appearing on Mastermind, with my specialist subject being FA Cup finals from 1969. Yeah. So
fucking hell.
I used to be able to name off the top of my head every FA Cup final winner and result from 19. Well, I could go from 1964. Actually, we won 3-2 Preston. 65. Always struggled here. I know 66 Everton beat Sheffield Wednesday 3-2. Oh, 65 Liverpool beat Leeds. Ian St John scored the winner. Yeah. 68. I'm not sure it was West Brom. 69 was definitely Man City beat Leicester 3-1. 70 was Leeds Chelsea after replay. 71 was Arsenal, did the double. 72, I think Leeds beat Arsenal 1-0. 73, Sunderland beat Leeds. 74, Liverpool beat Newcastle. 75, West Ham. 76 was Southampton beat Man United 1-0. 77 was Macari scores with deflected goal. 2-1 win. Man United beat Liverpool and stopped Liverpool doing the treble, because Liverpool won the title and the European Cup that year. 78, Ipswich 1-0, Roger Osborne, 70-odd minute winner. 79, 3-2 Arsenal. Alan Sunderland scored nearly last kick of the game. 80 West Ham, 81 Spurs, 82 Spurs. 83. There's always one that stumbles me, because I know 84 was Everton.
There's people in the chat trying to keep up with you.
Yeah, so 83. Fucking hell, Spurs. Who won it in 83? Man United won it, I believe, in 83.
Mate,
Ron Atkinson.
I'm just nodding. I don't know.
Smith, how about this? Why does it link now? 1983 to 2023. What's the link?
Go on.
Man United beat Brighton in the final. Smith must score. He didn't. They then won 4-0 in the replay. Of course, 40 years later, Brighton finally back at Wembley in the FA Cup. They've got to play Man United.
Well, there you go. Yeah, Matt, Man United, Brighton.
There you go. Yeah. So,
Sean,
and then
Man United, Brighton replay.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you retain your seat. I'm with Chris. I don't even remember what I had for dinner, let alone anything. So the Australian tour, it's going to be, it's an obligation.
I'm happy for the Australian West Ham fans. We got a lot of fans in Australia, expats and whatever.
We've got some people. We've got some on.
I'm really happy for them. I hope we get a good enough team from them. I hope you enjoy it. I really hope we beat Spurs, and I really do hope there's a trophy on it, because we can put that on the fucking go to Spurs fans. Fuck you lot. What have they won? Yeah, the Audi Cup.
Alan said, I don't care if it's the youth team.
Yeah.
It's West Ham. Still want to go. If Moyes is still manager, Western Australia is blinging plenty of places.
Push him on a boat off the coast of Fremantle. Hopefully we'll never see him again. The amount of sharks they got round Perth. There's got to be one that'll eat him.
That brings us to the end of the show. We
Bit of a pragmatic taste he'll leave in his mouth, though, wouldn't he, for that shark?
We've got another week to go before we endure the pain and the hopeful pleasure of Premier League football.
Yeah.
I guess you're going to be there for Southampton, aren't you? Can you hear me? Well, you can't hear me. He's gone.
No, I'm back.
What a time for him. He's back.
Yeah, I'll put another 50p in. You're all
right. I was saying, another week to go. You know, so we've got a few more games coming up with
Saints,
international football.
yeah.
I mean, you know, all things considered, we've got a good turnout, haven't we? You know, 10 senior players on international football. I think another 9 junior players. They've all done relatively well.
Well, you'd say that I wouldn't it? You know, it. So what we're saying is we've got a team packed full of internationals that are now sitting third from bottom.
Does that say more about our manager than it does about the players?
Possibly.
That's another hour we can talk about that, but let's not.
No.
Nigel,
yeah. I can't even see what the time is, so I ain't got my glasses.
It is. It's just gone midnight. We're into Saturday.
There you go, 2 hours. That's a short show for me.
Always a pleasure, co-host.
yeah. So just to get it, just so people understand that
it is. Well, you know, I've got to beg him to come on, but you know, he is the bloody co-host of the show.
Just send me you're the man with a social life. Every Friday night I sit in my shed. Monday night and Friday night I sit in my shed. Yeah. So
yeah, well, you do the podcast on a Monday.
Out in your jazz clubs or playing with your cats or whatever you do on a Friday night.
Do you know it's work though? I'll tell you for why. Because if we get through, when we get through to the semi-final of the Europa Conference, I stupidly booked a holiday, leaving the day before the second leg. Because my birthday's on the 18th of May, but I booked us to fly out to Cyprus on the 17th. And it's working because the other half has said, yeah, sure, you can change the flight so you can go to your football match on the 18th.
Oh, right.
It works.
Does it? So you didn't go, all I got last year for my birthday was bottles of rum. Can I not please go?
Mate, I'll tell you what, I've enjoyed almost all the bottles, so that it's all good.
Well, I did hear you saving that special one, but
mate, there's 2 special bottles in there.
Yeah, I don't know what they are.
But, they look superb. They look superb.
Yeah, you can enjoy them with sushi. Yeah.
Well, you Nigel saw what I was doing to sushi earlier, but you lot didn't. And it's nothing to do with the rubber doll.
Can't unsee it.
Always a pleasure. Any last words before we go?
Keep the faith.
Yeah, I knew it.
Do you know what? I say it because I know how it winds certain people up. Keep the faith. We're gonna do it, people. Look on the bright side.
I hope you're right. I hope you're right. Thank you all for watching. Really appreciated. If you're new to the channel, of course, you know what to do. Hit the like, subscribe button and all that sort of stuff. And we'll be back with a show very soon. So cheers, Nigel. Much appreciated, mate. And I'll see you all very soon. Where's the exit? I can't find the bloody... I've got so many... There it is.